For May the 6th, 2016, we talk about the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare announcement, Hitman, and we ask you about video game school assignments. Welcome to Level 149. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Maismith.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. So it's happened, something we've been waiting for a little while. That's going to have a significant impact has arrived, and that's pretty cool. You can probably guess what I'm talking about. Those new episodes of Cutthroat Kitchen are on Netflix now.
Yes,
the announcements of Deus Ex.
I'm more interested in the Cutthroat Kitchen, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the inevitable crossover.
Literal Cutthroat
I didn't
Kitchen.
ask for this tiny skillet. No, I'm obviously I'm kidding. No, I'm talking about the release of You Died, the book by Jason Killingsworth and Keza McDonald. Bonfire Side Chat was featured in. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, not talking about that either. The launch of Monster in My Podcast. That was pretty cool.
We're working our way up the ladder.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, and also your kid, Dennis.
I did have a kid.
Yeah.
Milo.
Milo. Yeah, Milo is extant in the world now. He's on the outside. We're seeing how he's doing on the outside.
It's like prison.
Yeah.
Still kicking.
I would say that the transition from inside to outside for babies is at least as hard as someone coming from inside to outside prison. It's pretty traumatic. But no, it's been a crazy week and a half. He's healthy, he's happy. Luke is loving being an older brother, which I was not expecting. So that's good. And I'd forgotten a couple things though. The first thing I forgot is how much newborns poop and how ridiculous it sounds when they do. Like, there are sounds coming out of this baby's bottom that have no place coming from a human. It's scary.
Is it a bottom or a hell mouth? Is it a portal to some infernal plane?
You could not tell by the sound. And then the other thing I'd forgotten is how nice it is that they stay where you put them. I set him on the bed and then I get dressed, and when I'm finished getting dressed, he's still on the bed. Whereas with Luke, I set him on the bed, I get dressed, and he somehow figured out how to start my car and is halfway to Walmart.
Yeah, he's just helping with the chores.
Yeah, no, you raised a kid who recognizes a value.
He's a real go-getter.
Yeah, I said I wanted an independent, but I didn't really mean it in that way. So.
Oh gosh, yeah. So the whole he stays stationary thing when I set him down, you said that in the green room, and we were like, haha, now we're gonna have that on record. You're actually putting that on record.
Oh no, it's fantastic. It is a stage that I know now to value. I don't think I did it the first time around, and now I'm good. It's also like, they talk about the difference between first time parent and second time parent. With Luke, we had like a tracker for exactly when he fed and when he went to the bathroom and all the details on that. And now it's like, we've fed Milo today, right? Yeah, I think we're good.
They kind of have their own built-in alarm for that kind of stuff. He said not having a kid and really never having been. Are they like regular humans but small?
Basically, small and fewer words.
No,
it's like a Tamagotchi, right?
Yeah,
because I've killed a shitload of those.
So it's like a Tamagotchi, right?
Oh, well, that is all wonderful to hear, man.
Yeah. It's great to go back to the newborn phase. A little sleepless, but it's been fantastic.
Yeah,
Nice.
Very cool. Anyone else have any anecdotes?
Yeah, beat that, suckers.
Yes. Yeah, beat those new episodes of Cutthroat Kitchen.
I got a second Roomba, and he's really helpful with the first Roomba.
So that's a question, David. You might be able to weigh in on this.
Sure.
If you have two Roombas, are they aware of each other? Do they cooperate, or do they just kind of fight? Because I've never seen a Roomba run into another Roomba.
I'm pretty sure Roombas are Roombas have like Roombas are basically entirely algorithm driven. Like the guy who owns the company or runs it or whatever you want to say is big on like he wants them to kind of be like little robotic insects. So actually, like whereas some of their competitors will actually try to like map out the floor and keep track of where they've cleaned and that sort of thing, Roombas are straight just running based on input
based on the carpet in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. Basically the data going in, and then they make decisions.
See, I would say you get a second Roomba, and then in 9 months you've got little Roombas all over the place.
A bunch of little Roomblets.
I'm telling you, Roomba knife fighting. Have we discussed that before? Have you seen those like videos?
No.
That sounds terrifying.
You can reprogram a Roomba. Like it's all open source, and so what people will do is basically program them and put like duct tape a knife to the front of the Roomba and a balloon to the back, and then like have two Roombas go at it.
So it's like Mario Kart. It's like incredibly slow, very noisy Mario Kart.
Yes.
Huh.
But then you have a Roomba literally stabbing all of your walls before it hits that balloon.
Those things just spin around.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you programmed it well, I guess.
Yeah. Lift your legs up when you run that. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know how I feel. Like I imagine like if you get like a little Beyblade kind of arena to put them in. Yeah. That'd be a way to do it.
No, I like the idea of if you want to keep a prisoner forever, just put them on a couch in an unlocked room. The couch is on one side, the door is on the other. Put a blindfold on and say, you can leave anytime you want, but there's a Roomba with a knife attached to it wandering around the room. Have fun. I would not move from that couch.
Huh. I don't know. I sometimes I'll look at a GIF of a cat riding a Roomba, and that's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's my story. No, my story is my parents got new flooring at the house, at the old homestead, and complimentary from the flooring company, they got a Roomba. They didn't tell me about the Roomba, and they decided we don't want the Roomba. They just gave it to my brother.
Ooh.
What did he do? He spurns technology.
Oh man. Looks like he's
the one who's likely to enter it into a Roomba knife fighting league.
I think that he's the one who's not going to appreciate it. This is like some prodigal son level shit. I go away and then it's the opposite. He's stuck around, but he still gets the Roomba. I don't think I understood that what is it, aphorism?
Parable?
There we go. And I didn't understand that parabola very much. Has its ups and downs. So that's good. We've met the banter requirements.
Checked off.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Now, next item, business.
Next item. We've had some fun here today, and now we're going to stop having fun. No, we've got the usual kind of show for you today. The brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. And let's get started with the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us. Do you all mind if I go first?
Go for it.
Yeah, because mine's going to be very short, actually. Dishonored 2 has a release date.
Cool.
Yeah, November the 11th.
I guess we'll all have to play it and see how divisive this one is.
That's the thing. Like, Ed, I'm just so happy. I'm happy that I have Jolly here to back me up on this. I was all alone before.
Crickets.
Yeah.
I kept her off this call for a reason.
Although I still maintain I think I would have enjoyed it on PC.
Yeah, possible. Just it threw you off because you were playing it on console with a mouse, or sorry, with a controller. Yeah,
and just like something that's already tends to frustrate. Stealth already tends to frustrate me, and just like the lack of like precision and that sort of thing. It just, I don't know, just kind of felt clunky.
Yeah,
too many whales.
which is great because the express purpose is to kill all the whales. You should play the DLC where it's like you're running around a whale, like a whale disassembly plant.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
really
I'm back
I
in
love
it.
this setting. Werewolf for the win.
So,
Yeah.
do we know if this continues directly the story from the first game, or if this is going to be kind of in a parallel or alternate or just different timeline?
Is it in fact Steampunk the Crow?
I have no idea about that, because some of those, like some of the endings from 1 are pretty hard to follow up on, without the world being entirely kind of different. I know that you're playing as an older version of the young woman that you rescued in the first game, and I think Corvo's still in the picture. But I very quickly went blank on it. I blacked out. I have no idea what
Yeah.
happened. I woke up
Just
2
say,
states over.
It's happening. La 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 la. Fingers. fingers.
yeah, like, exactly. Like I caught those details. I think it was like an E3 presser about a year or 2 years ago, something like that. And yeah, we're gonna get more details at E3 here this year in like 2 weeks. Not really 2 weeks, but very, very shortly. Yeah,
Cool.
I don't know. Like that's pretty cool. I expect to play it and talk about it on the show. I expect my praise to fall on deaf ears and for you all to just, again, go la 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 over me as I say nice things about this game that you hate. But
We can do that?
At the very least, I'll talk about steampunk or what form of punk it is at length. So, you can at least count on that.
Yes, David's punk diagnosis. I also have a follow-up on last week. So last week, for the news story, I talked about the Kickstarter that John Romero and the other Carmack
They have now
released.
become one.
Yes, they have merged. That they launched Black Room. By the time that episode went live, they had actually canceled it because apparently it's one of those things where they needed like gameplay video and also a demo to like get people to understand. So
wait, so were people not giving them money and they canceled it, or just like they didn't want that money because it was not properly motivated money?
It came from the wrong place. Like foreign countries. No, it I think that they weren't getting enough. Like their communication was kind of as misguided as their initial pitch. Because like, oh yeah, we didn't realize people would want to see what this thing looked like in action, so we're canceling the Kickstarter and focusing our development on something to show you, which seems like a really good thing to do. So
Yeah,
good
like,
on them for recognizing it. It's just kind of goofy to, be a developer and come to somebody looking for money without having anything. And it was goofy when Shenmue 3 did it. It's goofy whenever anybody does
everyone
it.
on Kickstarter did it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of the most successful ones have like not just concept art, but like, videos or something, or an explanation of how the game's going to work, as opposed to saying weaponized combat.
Sounds legit.
Yep. Yeah.
I like
Combat-
the image of that it's not combat with a weapon. It's that combat actually is the weapon.
Yeah. It's
The
so what happens
abstract
is
notion of combat.
yeah.
Guns that shoot guns.
Yeah, so you see two people fighting, you pick up one of the fighting people, one of the fight mans, and you throw them at the other fight man.
Yeah, it's like monster infighting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a great tweet earlier today that was a review of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, or a preview or whatever, just stripped of all the adjectives.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was about as bland as you would expect, and could be.
I guess to segue, that was actually my
Story.
item. Wait, what?
Your story?
Yeah, that was actually.
Dude, you just swooped his sentence.
Oh no!
Sorry.
Sometimes it needs to happen. It's fine.
I opened my
it's
mouth
fine.
and he swooped in and took it before it could leave. My story was actually the announcement of Infinite Warfare, and I chose it entirely because of how just ridiculous their description of it is.
Hit us, favor us with what's ridiculous about the description.
Sure. So I think a couple of my favorite highlights is that one of the big news items is that it's going to include a remastered version of Modern Warfare.
Yeah, Modern Warfare.
Yeah, I guess just Modern Warfare.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Whatever. and that this is going to be it is going to be reborn for a new generation that apparently came in the last 9 years.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, like, it came like 10 years ago.
But that's not a new generation.
In terms of games?
Yes, in terms of games.
Yeah. Well, also it is a new console generation as well.
All right, I'm still calling BS. Like an SNES game, a remake of Final Fantasy VII can be for a new generation. But when most of your target market played the original, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. So let's see here. It's 2016. Somebody just entering college today would have been born in 1998. They would have been 9 years old when Call of Duty came out.
That fits with most of the people I heard on headsets in Call of Duty. So
I have a theory that there's two types of people, where the retro line will follow with them, and people where they set the retro line when they start playing games, and that's where it stays.
Yes, and all of those people will come up and talk to us at the Portland Retro Games Expo or wherever we go and say you can't really be a retro game show if you cover anything past the SNES. Oh, and if that's a little kid, like a 13-year-old,
that's awesome.
I talked about this kid before. This little piece of
oh yeah,
this little piece of human.
I want you for one of those people to be like, Oh my God! Yeah, pack up the table.
Tear it down. Pack it up. I am undone.
I am so sorry. We'll get out of sight.
Like a bunch of ghosts fly out of my mouth, and my skin falls to the ground.
To be fair, if you could pull that off, that would be definitely worth it.
It's a good trick, but you can
get your props
ready. Yeah. So we can disagree on whether or not this is for a new generation. But
sure, so,
give me some more. This is like Starfighter, right?
Right, yeah. So it's set in space, which they describe as they are inspired by naval warfare because, quote, space is like a deep black ocean.
Yeah, we learned that with Star Trek.
Yeah, man.
Hey Dennis, how are those sick nasty bong rips you're doing?
Oh, it's like a deep black ocean over here.
Gotta deal with double parenthood out somehow.
And I think the last one I kind of enjoyed is that they described it as a grand old school all-out war in an epic new school setting.
Ugh.
I just like it's described as an insanely epic scale.
The other thing that strikes me as a little weird is like interspersed throughout that, this is them talking about how we know it's space, but we want people to realize that it's still going to be the same gritty, grounded story of the everyman soldier that Call of Duty always was. It's like you freaking nuked Washington D.C.
Yep.
And then, like, in the next one, had people in, like, exoskeleton armor. Like, the best one you've made recently revolved around mind control. Really?
So when I hear them, say it, like, hey, it's going to be the same as it ever was, what that sounds like to me is this futuristic kind of coat of paint, which we're laughing about, it's CODs in space, but like that has the potential to like bring in a new kind of weaponry or new scenarios, or like fuck gravity, gravity, no.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And the inflection on that means two totally different things.
It's great, depending on where you put that comma.
But I agree. Like, and to be fair, like with the space is the deep black ocean. They're discussing about talking to various former naval officers and experts on that. So like the idea of trying to do like a somewhat realistic take on what might weaponized space look like, I think actually, like you said, could be pretty cool. But although I feel like it's also this is Call of Duty.
It seems so unlikely that they're going to upset it by by actually being really adventurous and out there.
Well,
Yeah, when I hear this many adjectives in a press announcement, it tells me that someone in a boardroom oversold their management on the financial expectations. This is going to be an insanely epic profit for us on a scale above and beyond the original, and then they're going to turn around and try to use those same adjectives to hype the game to players.
Yeah.
well, I feel like the other thing is, I don't know, like the depiction of, I don't know, like increasingly, I feel like the depiction of like war and stuff like that has just gotten increasingly weird. I don't know, like I guess currently weaponizing space is banned by the UN, which obviously isn't going to stop people. But I mean, I feel like in order to like do that, do a realistic take on that, you would have to address questions of right and wrong and consequences and stuff like that. And it just seems like what Call of Duty seems to spectacularly not do is have any consideration of like, hey, are we actually on the right side of this conflict? What are the consequences of the stuff we're doing? Stuff like that.
Ben?
All I want to say is, how are they going to do the crawling in the last moments of your life scene if there's no gravity?
Well, it's going to be you being sucked out of an airlock, and it's going to be like the end of Shadow of the Colossus. You have to decide when to let go because you can't go in.
Trigger warning.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no. Pursuant to your line of inquiry there, David, I'm kind of curious how they're going to justify shooting people of different ethnicities. Are they going to be space?
Well, because what they've said is that that basically the plot line is that you represent the United Nations space whatever, and the bad guys are basically a group of colonies that like don't want to be part of the United Nations space wherever. It's like, I'm not sure that actually makes them the bad guys.
United Spations?
Yes. I feel like, maybe people that aren't even on your planet anymore are obligated to like have you be their rulers and masters.
Oh, so this is it's a prequel to Firefly.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought that was Planet Side.
I thought it was Mass Effect.
Fair enough.
We're all right. Yeah, I don't know. I saw this too, and I was like, "Yep, that seems right." They're not going to go backward. They're not going to go and say like, "Yeah, you're firing bolt action rifles in World War II now." Like,
see, I don't get why though, because it seems to me like the more futuristic they get, the weapons don't actually feel different. On the other hand, like do a straight up Call of Duty game, the same perks and kill streaks and all the things people love in like Wild West era, where it's like single action revolvers are the height of technology, and that could actually be a unique. Well, it would basically be Fistful of Dollars, but other than that, it would be a unique and like interesting play.
Yeah, I mean that's the other side of this complaint that I'm watching. Like, oh, they're taking it into the future, but it's not really going to matter because you're still going to go pistol, submachine gun, shotgun, sniper rifle with some accoutrement alongside of it, like maybe a couple of gimmick weapons and stuff.
Yeah, I would be interested to see what the game that finally breaks that mold looks like. Like it's got to happen at some point, and I think there will always be kind of the rock, paper, scissors.
Team Fortress 2?
Did it, though? That still had shotgun, submachine gun.
Yeah, but the class system made it all weird.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Ben, what do you think? I mean, just as a Call of Duty's man, but you haven't played that series in a while.
We have parted ways.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because this isn't even
Yeah,
this is Treyarch, right?
No, it's not. Which at some
it's
point,
Infinity Ward.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was one of my other complaints. Is I feel weird them saying like, by the original team that made, Call of Duty. It's like, actually not.
Which part of the original team? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm interested. I don't know if we, like, most of the people I've talked to that are fans of Call of Duty, feel that at some point, like, polarities were reversed and Treyarch became by the Treyarch years, don't buy the Infinity Ward years. Are you on board with that, or are you still anti-Treyarch?
Infinity Ward left. Infinity Ward was the A team until Modern Warfare 3, and Treyarch was the B team until Black Ops 2. Right? Yeah, and then I don't even know who they have as their B team. I don't even know what the B years are.
It's like Sledgehammer or something like that.
Yeah, the ones that aren't Black Ops is usually what it seems to be expressed.
Your Ghost. Yeah.
Whatever. Just go play Modern Warfare 2 some more. That game's way better.
Well, I guess that would be the one last news story is you won't be able to actually just buy Modern Warfare Remastered. You'll have to have at least bought in the Legacy Edition or Digital Legacy Edition of Infinite Warfare in order to get it.
Yeah. So you have to purchase the game that will show up on their balance sheet.
Yes.
Or more, you'll have to purchase the game that they will be able to brag about and say we sold X number of copies of this when you're kind of sold a bunch of copies of this game you made a while ago.
Yeah. So that's the funny thing. Are servers for the first Modern Warfare still up? I can't imagine that they are.
Yes, they are, because the first Modern Warfare had dedicated servers.
Oh boy.
You really walked into that one. Like,
yep.
I don't even feel bad about that.
You really should have.
So
it was like David was taking a shot at the president. I was like, no.
But that's the thing. Like, so I wonder if there will be a rash of people going back and purchasing the original game, being like, okay, fine, we'll just play over here.
I don't know. I think a lot of those people probably already have the game, to be honest.
Yeah. So rather than purchasing Infinite Warfare, it'll be like hey, let's go old school and go back to the original versus the remastered original that requires you to buy the new.
Yeah, hey, everybody will be over here.
Yeah, I feel like the I don't know, maybe a test case or stand-in to see how that might play out would be, and I honestly don't know, like, what the relative populations are on the various versions of Counter-Strike. Because I feel like that's a somewhat analogous situation.
So isn't Global Offensive like the canonical one, and that's kind of where everyone is camped out?
That's where the current like major competitive scene that has a lot of money behind it is right now. A lot of people have gone over.
Global Offensive is pretty old, right?
No, Geo came out like 2013. I guess that's old.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Global Offensive is the most recent one.
Yes.
Oh.
There was a similar situation in so 1.6 was the most popular one for a very long time. Like the version of 1.6 of the mod that came out, and despite Valve's attempts to kind of like package this up, either in package Counter-Strike up in retail, either with Counter-Strike Source or with Counter-Strike not Global Offensive Condition Zero, people really just kind of found ways to not like that and decided to stick to their guns. I'm pretty sure that 1.6 still has a very, very active community that just doesn't have like the esport kind of thing going on with it right now.
Sure.
Yep. Ben, I'm going to have you do your story first because it is a light story that leads into Dennis's story.
All right. Yeah. So they released Minecraft for I forget which VR system it is, but they released it for VR.
Good.
Yeah. And I think they announced the release for it day of, like with almost no time between when they actually released it.
That is coming out. It's out for Samsung's Gear VR headset.
All right, thank you. And so there's a demo video attached with it where they show kind of the gameplay of it and how you can do it. And there's 2 different camera modes that you can play with it in VR. One in which it takes up the entire screen of your VR headset, and you basically use what you're looking at as a cursor. So if you want to select a block, you look at the block and then you press whatever button you need to press. And the secondary mode that they have is like the theater mode, which I think we've talked about maybe, but you are sitting on a fictional chair that's away from a screen that has the game. So it's weird.
Yeah, that's getting straight up recursive.
One thing they mentioned though in the video is that in the theater mode, the world that you're looking at is 3D though. So even though you're looking at what looks like a 2D screen when you're watching the video, it's a 3D when you're playing the game.
Yeah, so you're in a virtual reality theater watching a 3D movie of this 2D game.
Yeah.
Couldn't be simpler. I don't understand why you're confused.
Yeah.
So the argument, we talked about this on a previous show. The argument could be that this is for people who want to ditch the monitor entirely, or don't want to own a monitor other than the screen or other than the VR device.
See, I figured it was for people who own the Samsung whatever, but actually wanted the Microsoft HoloLens.
Well, the Gear VR is actually very cheap. They're giving it away with a lot of the high-end Android phones, too.
Oh, cool.
And also, this is the Minecraft Pocket Edition, not the full kind of desktop version, which has implications for like multiplayer. As far as I remember, it's been a while since I've played. I'm not sure if they're at parity, but if that matters to you and you're like running credit card first to get this, that may stop you. But yeah. Let me see here. They it's funny because what was it? Notch, when he was still a relevant part of this operation, said it would never come to the Oculus. But wait a second.
Was there a reason for that?
Because of it was after the Facebook purchased it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the weird part though. Even though it is for Samsung Gear, it is published on the Oculus store, which is strange.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know. I would much rather so as much as I made a joke about the theater mode for this, I would so much rather do that than actually do the full first person, or as I call it, mode. Yeah, I did that at the Portland show, and it was, I was standing in a room surrounded by a bunch of people, and it was very disorienting. And when I took the headset off, I was pointed in a different direction than I expected to be, and it was no.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. I feel like the looking at blocks to do things could get old.
Yeah, it's because your fucking neck's not meant to do that.
Well, and also like I feel like
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what's there's the graphic setting where basically it tries to make things that you are far away, kind of blurry.
Depth of field.
Yeah. And it never works because that's not how eyes work. Eyes move, so it can't actually predict what you're looking at. Right. I feel like that's the same thing here, where it's like that works if your eyes are like welded straight forward and looking with your head.
Yeah.
But
so you just have to get some very precise surgical Botox injections to disable your eye muscles, and you're all good.
Oh yeah.
What were you going to say, Ben?
I was going to say, how are you going to do with survival horror when it comes to Oculus only?
I don't know. I'm going to hope that by that time things are going to be good. Things are going to be sorted out. Okay. Also, that was a Dev Kit 1 or something like that. It was really low resolution, and it wasn't really the place I wanted to do it. Not a great condition for it. I talked about this plenty. But yeah, give me a compelling enough experience, and I will move heaven and earth to play it. But right now, that was just kind of it left a bad taste in my mouth. By which I mean the bile that rose from my gorge. And this segues nicely, Dennis, into your story, which is about anger.
Yeah, well, it's just about Oculus shitting the bed in slow motion in new and creative ways. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, all the pre-orders in, the only thing they could screw this up now is like have delays on the pre-orders, and then they do that. And it's like, well, okay, as long as we can get our games before everyone else. and then they go and send games to retailers that should be going to people who pre-ordered the game, because that's how pre-orders work. So Best Buy, Amazon, and I think the Microsoft Store are all getting inventory of the Oculus Rift before the people who pre-ordered it through Kickstarter.
So can I throw this in real quick?
Yeah, what's up?
Kickstarter's not a pre-order.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's actually is people that pre-ordered, not people that Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, excuse me. I'll speak correctly on that. It is people who actually legitimately pre-ordered the game, though.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So yeah, if anyone Kickstarted but not at the pre-order level, then fine, whatever. But yeah, for people who actually pre-ordered the game and are still waiting on delays, longer delays, and longer delays to get this, now are being given the finger again, essentially, as Oculus is shipping consoles that are ready to go. Do you call this a console? What do you call this?
Headset, hardware,
Headset. Yeah, hardware that's
peripheral.
That's a lot of options.
Cybernetics.
Cybernetics.
The future.
the present.
All right, we're gonna as they're shipping the present.
Yeah.
Dingus.
Although
I think the perfect cap off to this is if retailers start selling it for cheaper than what the pre-order was.
So,
oh my god, yeah.
To make this somewhat more reasonable, when I was reading this article, looked at some of the comment section, there are actually a couple of people brought up, and it makes sense. Probably the reason for this is because they're contractually obligated to do this.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't actually have a contract with people who pre-ordered.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably legitimate is a loaded word here. There is probably an explainable business reason behind.
It's American legitimate.
Yeah, yeah. There's probably an explanation for this that involves a contract or involves just like, yeah, we need to do this because we need to sell these at channel. Like we already have their money. When I say it like that, it becomes immediately shittier again.
Well, yeah, because I feel like that's the thing though, because that would I feel like doing it just because it's in our financial interest is different than doing it because we're legally obligated to.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe these contracts were made before they had visibility of the fact that there were going to be shortages or whatever.
Yeah, that's good.
But I think at the end of the day, and whether or not their hands are tied, they're making the bet that pissing off Microsoft Store is better than pissing off their early adopters. And I don't know that that's the which end is going to be worse.
To take it and turn it. They're pissing off the early adopters instead of Best Buy and Amazon and the Microsoft Store.
Yeah, which if I was Oculus, the first thing I would be doing is going to the Microsoft Store and say, look, you're going to make yourself the devil if I send these to you before the pre-orders. So here's some deal, whatever, on the ones you'll eventually get, but I need to fill these pre-orders before I can give you guys anything.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be backlash on Amazon and the Microsoft Store for this as well. I think if they're selling it.
I don't know. I think that these pre-order guys, who I have a lot of sympathy for, have been in this situation where like it sucks to just to pre-order something and then have other people get it, especially not like from these guys whatever, but like from I probably like made plans around getting this when I pre-ordered it. There was probably a shipping window, like having that slip for and this stuff is never really communicated, like all of that makes sense, but like and I have sympathy for that, but they're such a vocal minority that like after they get theirs, unless they're willing to just kind of like send them back and swear off of them forever. And I assure you, the Vive and whoever else is going to be like similarly constrained, 8 months from now, or fuck it, Christmas time, all of this is going to be forgotten. And I don't think that anybody is going to hold a grudge against this, not in a meaningful way.
I don't know.
You don't think this could hurt their brand?
Oh, like
for
a second. But just time does tend to heal this. Like this reads as kind of like current outrage that is going to dissipate, and that's just because it is business as usual.
No, I see. I might agree with you if this was an anomaly, but this is on top. The way I open this, this is on top of a very consistent trend over the past several months of them just kind of making very poor decisions or getting locked into bad contracts, however you want to say it, but doing very consistent things to piss people off. So you do something like this once, you have to delay it. Okay, fine. People will forgive you. Then you have to delay it again. Okay, maybe half the people forgive you. And then you come back and say, well, you're actually, they're going to show up at retail before you get your hands on what you pre-ordered. Now, a quarter of the people forgive you. And then to cap all this off, we didn't talk about this yet. They've said nothing by way of an apology or make it right to the pre-order people. They've said, hey, you can try to go buy this at retail and then cancel your pre-order if you want, and we'll let you keep the benefits. Which is just incredibly weak given, the motivations of the people that are pre-ordering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I would say,
I think what is going to tank them, if that winds up happening, is just this consistent trend of doing wrong by their most vocal.
So here's the thing: are they still in a situation where that kind of evangelism is more valuable than breaking their contracts and breaking their relationships with retail channels who are going to get this in front of people who are not necessarily early adopters? Like they're moving to the right side of that hockey stick of that adoption curve. And like, I could totally see that being part of their calculus. Again, a shitty part of the calculus, but still a part of it.
I would say, I think some of it could depend on whether or not VR becomes, I guess kind of you commoditize or whatever. Because like right now, to the most part, all of the VR systems seem basically the same to me. So if pretty much the only thing I have to go on is I heard something bad about Oculus Rift that one time, it doesn't necessarily matter whether I actually care about that. It might just be that that's the only differentiator.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be options. The Vive is, I think, done everything right, and Oculus has done everything wrong.
Well, the Vive is also in really heavy delays and stuff, but I haven't read how they've handled it.
Yeah, well, comparatively, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, I think, again, some of the things I've seen discussed that I think make sense is that to be, to, I guess, give them benefit of the doubt or whatever, probably some of this is that, unlike, the other VRs that are made by established companies, this is, a more indie product that may or may not have, basically that likely didn't realize all the logistics that went into stuff. I mean that doesn't really help them.
It's an indie product that's owned by Facebook, one of the largest companies in the world.
Well, it was owned, it's owned by Facebook now, but didn't. The question is, were these deals made before it was owned by?
Oh,
Facebook?
most assuredly not.
You don't think?
No.
Well,
they were bought by Facebook like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, even if they were made beforehand, like the major thing that you get when you're bought by Facebook is this kind of like project management expertise. It is when you get a behemoth like that, you get the resources, but you also get the rigor.
I'm just saying if the damage was already done.
Yeah.
Even then, like you said, they got bought by Facebook 2.5 years ago or whatever. And that should have been enough time for somebody with all this rigor and with all this resources to see this kind of blindside coming.
Yeah. And also, like, if Oculus was very interested in fighting it, I'm pretty sure that Facebook has lawyers, specifically contract lawyers, who would be able to help them, renegotiate it to shift priorities around.
Well, and that's it. That, like I said, the line from them to their pre-order people should have been like, we are so sorry. We're being forced. Our hand is being forced. And here's a way we'll make it right to you. And instead it was, hey, get in line with everyone else and we'll maybe let you keep your stuff. Yeah.
Thanks for that money a while back. Go stand in line with everybody else. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It sucks. It sucks being an early adopter, and it sucks that so much cool stuff is happening. That, is out of the hands and out of the grasp of so many people. And even the people who want it, more than anybody else, who have the means and have the ability, are kind of at the whim of these kind of just really shitty and, Kafka-esque, I don't know, like business realities or externalities. Like, I sounded like a monster before when I was saying those things. I don't want to sound like you don't have any sympathy for it. I just, it sucks. It really does suck.
Yep.
So I guess it's not, a justification. It's an explanation. And really, that's what they owe people who have already given them money, is an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts on that? I didn't want to get the last word, specifically because I was so kind of extreme on it.
No, I think I'll just reiterate what I touched on before, which is, if this was one flub, they'd be forgiven. I think it's this consistent trend of, it feels like now them just falling apart and making every possible unforced error, that I think is going to be really damaging.
Yeah.
Is it a flub me once, shame on you situation? Flub me twice, shame on me?
Flub me 3 times, blavin'.
Yeah.
Flubber, you see.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you ask the nice people?
Well, the question is about them getting a very special privilege, which is their ability to add one video game to every high school's English or literature curriculum. So if you could do that, what game would you choose, and what assignment or prompt would you include with it?
It's a good question.
And would it be a hardcore game or a common core game?
All right, we'll go ahead recording with you guys. I think that's as good as it
Yep. No. It's we can't go any further. I'm sorry.
At least not for this episode.
I'll pick us up with James. Planescape Torment. What can change the nature of a man? So Planescape Torment being the game, what can change the nature of the man being the prompt?
Is that a direct quote from anywhere in the game?
Yeah, it's kind of like the running question, or like the overarching thesis or theme of it.
Okay, I assumed as much.
Yes, and it has multiple answers within the game story, if I recall correctly. So yeah, which of these very poignant conclusions resonates with you more? Pretty good. Let's see, David. What does Jeff say?
Jeff says, Dark Souls. Assignment, complete a timeline of the history of Lordran from the discovery of the first flame to the start of the game.
Huh.
And yes, we will check for plagiarism against Bonfireside chats, right?
Yep, or Vati or Epic Name Bro or any of those people. Yeah. Also, there is a correct answer, and precision counts. Go.
That's right. Precision and detail count.
Yes. Yes. Where does Vinheim fit into all of this? Yeah, that would be. Oh gosh, so many people would bounce off of that. I'm not saying that like in a get good kind of way, but more in like that's a spicy meatball to put in front of a high schooler.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all babies.
But then again, who else has the time to really delve in on that level?
Yeah, I fucking did. Let's see here. Ben, what does Eric say?
Eric says, tough question. Valve already uses Portal in education, but it's not for story reasons. I'm going to be weird and say Ace Attorney. I want the class to give me a detailed description of the legal system present in the game, and I want them to write a report about how they view the legal systems in Ace Attorney and Japan, which the game is loosely based on and acts as a critique of.
This is fantastic.
I would actually be very curious to see, like, I've never sought this out, so I'm sure it exists, but like a compare and contrast of the systems, because if it's a satire, I'd be very interested to know it. I just have no context for that.
Also, I'm a little bit surprised it would be significantly different, because didn't we more or less set up like their legal system after World War II?
I have no idea. I know we set up
their government.
We rewrote their constitution, or we wrote a constitution.
Like I would assume legal system's part of that, is it?
I think
Probably.
so. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm too ignorant to say.
We had to account for the ninja clause, but
the guy who delivers shurikens to all the children across the land.
Yes.
Okay. Huh. Dennis, what does Steven say?
Steven says Beyond Two Souls with the prompt, the study of how not to construct a nonlinear story. Amen.
Huh. I would say, like, why is this worse than a movie? Like, not to come in here and correct you, but it's like, like, if this should have been, if David Cage just wanted to make a movie, what would the movie version of this look like, and why is this worse than that? Yeah,
that's one of those things where like it's like the guy in Papers, Please that hands you like the obviously fake passport.
Yes, it's his passport.
It's really hard to identify the specific rule that it violates, even though it is entirely horrible. It's like there's so many places that it's wrong that it's hard to pin one down.
Yep. There's no obscenity clause. There's no like, I just know it when I see it.
Isn't that when you just point at them and yell capitalist?
I think so. I don't know. Sam writes, The Witness, and the assignment would be a test about the symbolism in the game. The answers to the test would be based on one extremely specific interpretation because this is America, where we hire science teachers who don't believe in evolution, and English teachers who don't understand post-structuralist literary theory.
I like how there's two interpretations of testing them on the symbolism in the game.
Okay, can you clarify that?
Well, there's symbolism in the story, and there's literally symbols in the game.
Yeah, the game's all symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, again, there is a correct answer. You're going to be penalized if you don't get it exactly. Yeah. Let's see here. David, what does Glenn say?
Glenn says, Spec Ops, for how important perspective and context matters in storytelling.
Yeah. Give them the old unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I did, and Ollie mentions that specifically in a comment on this comment, which is.
I feel like then you could also read Heart of Darkness.
Oh yeah. Run some comparisons. Yeah, such as, hey, some of these guys share names. Success. Let's see. Ben, what does Franz say?
Franz says, Alpha Protocol. Assignment, chart how your decisions influence the world and story. Compare the outcomes with others. Write a character study of Stephen Heck for extra credit. Also, get the level to mention Alpha Protocol as often as possible.
Man, you guys are assigning so many mature-rated games to these children, these literal children.
Yup.
Gotta grow up sometime.
Yeah.
Senior capstone.
Pretty good. Let us see here. That was a good answer. Also getting us to the Alpha Protocol. God, I love that game. It's so good. Let's see. Dennis, what does Ollie say?
Ollie says, Masters of Orion 2. I like the idea of creating your own narrative and making your own allegiances throughout the story. How your choices affect the relationships between species and how alliances and feuds are fluid. Fluid. Yeah. They speak really easy with each other. Yes. Games like this are invaluable for teaching kids the idea of a changing story. Nothing is fixed, and when you are writing fiction, the ability to change from your original idea is a key factor. So the assignment is you create the story.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's pretty close to what my answer would possibly be. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't look at this question until very recently, so I don't have an answer. But like a systems-based game like that feels very like a good way, like something that doesn't have an explicit narrative, but the one you make yourself is pretty good. Let's see. Roop writes in, The Cat Lady. Describe depression and what causes it, and how the world can seem from the perspective of a depressed person. I'll take that again. And how the world can seem from a depressed person. Yeah.
Had not heard of this game. I just put it on my wish list.
Yeah, I have it. It's one of those ones that I want to beat all in one setting because I understand that it is very short. And it is billed as a horror game. And I've been a little bit scared about like what a horror game about depression would look like.
Sure.
I thought it was supposed to be like straight up walking simulator.
It's usually marketed as a horror game.
Huh, okay.
I think Root might have like either gifted it to me. Somebody else must have. Like a bunch of people want me to play it, and I'm not sure. I just need to like mark off time for it, I suppose. Yeah, but yeah, no, just that would be pretty good. Like look for look at this from a psychological or kind of aberrant behavior perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. David, what does Robert say?
Robert says, Lost Odyssey. The main narrative is nothing to write home about, but the 1,000 Years of Dreams visual novel segments a brilliant demonstration of short-form fiction that uses shared themes and characters, with different settings written by different artists. Some of them might come off as a little bit saccharine, but taken as a whole, they're a bit like a pass-off collaborative mix between Calvino's Invisible Cities and Swift's Gulliver's Travels. Obviously, Lost Odyssey doesn't touch either of them in terms of quality, but still a great effort and a great idea. Assignment? Class, take a shared character and their selection of themes from a hat and combine it with the setting of their choosing to write a micro-narrative. 150 words. 1,500 words tops. Everybody's contribution comes together in a small book.
And I'm going to sell it for my own profit.
Very
That's
cool.
really detailed. Is this guy a teacher?
Yeah, I think he's just given us part of his syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
Syllababulous. Huh? Yeah, I've never played Lost Odyssey. That's one of those ones. That was an era where I just did not play any RPGs, really, that were not Bethesda games. So,
Sure.
Ben, what does Chase say?
Chase says, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Practical assignment, make a mask of yourself. What powers do you get for equipping it? Written assignment, discuss the symbolism used throughout the game. Bonus points if it's not about death.
This is like the freshman English class.
Yeah, I could see that. Also, picking one that isn't about like imminent doom and the way like the grieving process would be very hard for that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God, I just dropped that game entirely on the 3DS. Like I put it down and never went back to it, and I desperately want to play more of it.
How far into it were you?
Like end of the first dungeon, something like that. But there are only like 4 dungeons in that game, so
Yeah.
Let's see.
The correct answer, by the way, was I'm still on the first day.
Which time? The first day, 4th time. Let's see here. Dennis, what does Nathan say?
Nathan says, Dark Souls. Describe how the concepts of samsara and impermanence relate to the game. I guess this is more a world lit than English, but I would say, but it would be a nice springboard to introduce some Eastern concepts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I always think about stuff in terms of like comparative lit. So like I would want to grab something that this kind of relates to. I was going to make a joke back in the Majora's Mask side of things, saying like, oh, write a comparison between this and Groundhog Day. But Dark Souls would also suffice.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see here. Mikhail writes, I think it would be hard to assign just one game because it would be difficult to launch a good discourse without some kind of common referent, like another game. So I think if I had to, I would choose a game which refers to and intersects with works of literature that are also on the same syllabus. And the prompt could be to explore whether the game uses any interesting means of engaging or critiquing those works and their themes, especially in a medium particular kind of way. For example, students could play the Talos Principle subsequent to studying Greek mythology, or sci-fi exploring the nature of consciousness. Spec Ops could be played after reading Heart of Darkness. David, did you read that ahead of time? Did you just want to sound smart before Mikhail did?
May or may not have swept.
Spec Ops could be played after reading Heart of Darkness, assuming it wouldn't be traumatizing, and watching Apocalypse Now, Kentucky Route Zero, and 20th Century Americana Lit, etc., etc. Yeah. Mikhail, you and me on the same page. Comparative. Do it. David, what does David say?
David says, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Describe the game in terms of the classic hero's journey. Bonus points for labeling the archetypes present.
You could do that for a lot, and in grasping for my own answer, looking for kind of the best or example of it. Like I would punish them by making them play like Final Fantasy 12 and have them compare it to Star Wars, and then pull all of the heroes archetype. But like at a high school level, like teaching them about the whole hero with 1,000 faces or whatever thing, that's about right. That's about that answer. And like that is an important pattern to recognize, so that lazy companies don't try and exploit it in you for years and years.
You could almost describe it like there's one singular monomyth that could be applied to almost a game.
Well, there's a duo myth. There's a duo myth, that one that everybody knows, and the new one I'm going to create.
You're worth millions.
That actually would be an interesting assignment. Is create an alternative.
Create a template that everybody else can exploit lazily.
Stage 1: the unwitting hero is offered adventure and accepts it immediately.
Let's just get this out of the way. Like, come on. We got to speed this up.
Profit?
All right. Let's see here. Ben, what does Graham say?
Graham says, I'd probably choose something I describe as a literary game, quote unquote. A game that has little to no speculative fiction elements and whose gameplay systems are very natural and don't feel embellished or exaggerated. The game may still be fun, but it's not gamey. Examples include This War of Mine, Cart Life, Papers, Please. Stuff like that are good for discussion because the themes are so discernible.
Yeah. You took mine. I was going to go with either Cart Life or Papers, Please. But again, those are system-based things. I guess Papers, Please is more of an adventure game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have time for one more. Dennis, what does Noah say?
Noah says, other than what's been mentioned already, Shadow of the Colossus. Good one. Played this recently with some friends, and while I didn't like it as a game, I know, I'm a Philistine, the story continues to haunt me. It would be great fuel for discussions about storytelling, pacing, and perspective. That is, it wouldn't be as powerful if expressed through another medium.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a great prompt for almost any game that you could put in an English class would be, why does this need to be a game?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that actually kind of flows into some of mine, which is I don't think I would. I just don't think video games as a medium are compatible with. I think you might as well try to present pottery in an English class. Video games are experienced, books are read. And I think also I tend to kind of be more biased towards the English should be introducing people to the Western canon, to things, books and writings that matter. And I don't think there's really any video games so far that have really been important enough to matter.
Like in the public consciousness?
Yeah, in terms of like influencing widespread thought of like, I think the focus should be on the things that underpin different worldviews, philosophies, political systems. People should be reading, I don't know, Wealth of Nations and Plato and etc.
Oh, I profoundly couldn't disagree with you more. But this isn't the place for that.
As I say, you do realize you're on a podcast about video games, and largely about video games as a medium for art and like as the next creative medium.
See, and I would argue video games are not a good medium for art. I think they can be a good. I think they can be a good media for experience. I don't think they're a good media for narrative.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think not if you define narrative as the traditional way it's been done, but you can't pick one fixed way that things are experienced, like read or watched or whatever, and say it has to be that way forever. The definition of art or narrative has to evolve as the mediums were able to deliver.
Then why have definitions at all?
Again, it fits the time. It has to evolve.
Yeah.
See, I know. Yeah, I think the things that are, I think video games are more storytelling than they are art. I guess is kind of what I would say.
I really don't see the difference.
I would say I think storytelling's participatory. I don't see video games as being particularly effective in terms of, communicating, someone's vision or, some author or artist's vision. I don't see that being a particularly effective use of games.
Huh.
That starts from the assumption that to communicate your vision, you have to not allow anyone to participate.
Oh, no, I'm not saying. I guess what I'm saying, though, is I think then, yeah, I mean, if art can mean anything you want it to mean, sure, but then it doesn't mean anything. I would say, when I say I don't think video games are I would say I don't think they're particularly good media for, for the idea of, the artist and, this is my vision and what I'm trying to communicate, those sorts of things.
An auteur.
Yeah.
I think
I will admit that it's harder to have an auteur video game programmer because there's so much more work that has to go into it, I feel like.
I really did not expect this prompt to start this discussion.
Yeah, crazy. But any work of art doesn't need to have been made by just one person.
No, and by definition that it's absolutely not, especially in 99% of the experiences that we see in games.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is good. This might segue to another debate. But do you guys think that there's more value in an auteur piece of art versus a non-auteur piece of art?
I'm so bored by this discussion.
Right.
I would say there's almost no value in an auteur piece of art because other people are what matter.
But they're talking about their view of the world and trying to set that in contrast to the viewers. Like a knife in my back. Sorry. And this is the... sorry.
Yeah, I think that feels incompatible with what you were saying earlier. But yeah, okay.
All right, so David has none.
We need to wade into. Yeah.
David has none, and this is going to suck. David, how much time do you have left?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
And to be fair, I am giving like the because of that the thumbnail version of how I feel on these things.
Okay.
That's one hell of a thumbnail.
Yeah.
That's more of a hangnail, I would say.
Hangnail.
Yeah. Well, it might be good to take a moment because I don't want to have you drop out mid conversation. David has to go to work, so that is why he's not going to be here. Kind of like in previous ones. So, David, we will usher you off, and we'll be back on the other side of that with our responses here. All right. So let's continue. Ben, I would like to hear yours.
Yeah. Okay. So I already thought about this one. Medal of Honor, which is a game I mentioned frequently, I guess now. I would do that for a history class because it literally helped me with my World War II history class. Yeah, just knowing like all the guns that each side has, even though that sounds kind of weird. Like maybe couple that with watching Band of Brothers, and it pairs very nicely with one another. It's like, oh, everybody has guns. So it's like everyone's rolling as that class, and only a few people have machine guns. Like bars are not a big deal. Well, yeah, only a few people have this, but yeah, I don't know. That was a really nice experience that happened to line up with me for high school, so I'd probably pass that on. As far as English class, though, I would probably do either Journey or Shadow of the Colossus or both, and I would treat that as video games as art, and so I would kind of ask for artistic interpretations of that.
Yeah. Pretty good. Journey would be an interesting one just because there is even less text than there is in Shadow of the Colossus.
And you actually just swooped mine, so.
I feel that Journey, on the other hand, might have a more narrow interpretation than Shadow of the Colossus, perhaps, but maybe not. Maybe I just personally have a more definite interpretation of it, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'd actually, within Journey, I'd ask specifically about the use of color to convey emotion or the narrative. Because when you kind of go and look through the game with that lens, they do so much with the color palette.
Red, blue, and white. It's America.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the angle I would take on it.
Yeah. Is that your answer? Dennis?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to do mine because I think that a tremendous amount of the value that you get out of any piece of literature or art, if that's the word you want to use, or experience, if you want to talk about games, is what that says about people and the human condition, even down to like the day to day. What I would like to do is prescribe The Sims.
Huh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
As this is going to sound like some like shitty like fan fiction or whatever, but like pick another work, try and read it, consume it, pick out the characters, and then try and recreate them, not just aesthetically, but like their traits and their stats and their likes and their wants and stuff. Put them in a same in the same house, like the same household, and then just run it. Like get a couple of generations down, get the story, and see kind of where the simulation breaks down, what kind of like little micro stories kind of came out. Like there's only a certain range that you can really get in the Sims, and like look at kind of a version of what these different conflicting sets of needs, kind of like the stories that they create in something that is kind of a pure simulation like that.
She's like, the Capulets and the Montagues wound up having a barbecue together. I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it just like that I think would be interesting to hear about the stories that come out of it.
So in a challenge mode to try and do the same thing but with Spore.
Maybe. Try and create
billions of years. Yeah.
Try and create the evolutionary conditions necessary to pursue a Bukowski poem.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That was a really good question. Dennis, was that a Furia original?
That's off the cuff. Although that should not dissuade people from submitting their question ideas on the Slack channel. I'm always on the lookout. And I'm notoriously bad about saving them because I'm always like, oh, when I'm near like a something I can the document that I keep these questions in, I'll write that down, and then I forget by the time I get back to my computer. So if you sent in stuff before and we haven't used it, send it in again, because I'm always happy to use stuff unless it's like blatantly offensive.
Has that happened?
Not yet.
Okay, good. But it's good to lay that out.
Yeah, the person who was about to send in the horribly racist questions, like, oh,
take it to another podcast.
But if you would like to, you can participate in these by going to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thelevelpodcast. Tuesday afternoons or so. And we read them kind of in a first come first serve order, for lack of a better system. So anybody we didn't get to, I apologize, but your answers are very, very much appreciated.
And there's a lot of good discussion that happens on the Facebook post. So it's fun to see that as well, in addition to the stuff that we read.
Indeed.
As a follow-up, I was going to say all the offensive questions can go to The Slant, which is our rival podcast.
That'd be a pretty good one, wouldn't it? Yeah.
The Grind.
Now it is time for The Grind, where we talk about the games that we have been playing over the past week or so. Let us see here. Dennis, you have been away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have.
What kind of games does a father of a newborn play?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Besides, what's that smell?
What were you playing in the hospital during the labor?
Hold on, babe. I'm almost to level 53. Don't push yet. No, the hospital is this weird thing where, like, there's people taking care of you left and right, and you've kind of got you've got nothing to do but sit there and stare at this child, or you try to sleep. As long as things go smoothly, there is a lot of downtime. So lots of Hearthstone in the hospital. I've been continuing to play League of Legends, and so anyone else who plays, hit me up there. I think I've got my player name on the whole co-op thing, but anyway, the new stuff that I've been playing though, as I've weirdly had plenty of time to play. I think I've said this before, but babies. Luke, at least, who sleeps through the night, goes to bed around 7:30, and then since I'm up anyway, taking care of Milo and kind of just waiting for him to be hungry, as I'm doing right now, actually, it's plenty of time to do other stuff. But first off, I tried Duelyst, which is another CCG / board game that's come out recently. So I talked about Faria on a previous episode. And Duelyst is very much in the same vein. So you build a deck of minions and spells. When you play a minion, instead of just kind of playing them onto a plain board like you would in Hearthstone or Magic, you actually play them onto a game board where they are extant pieces that you can then move and interact with.
That game board shoots and ladders.
Yeah. That game board, a very bland, just grid, square grid, or rectangular, I guess, grid. So that's it's very solid. Like, I had fun playing the game. And there's Milo. So I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a break for feeding?
Literally, his bottle is already warm, so I just need to plug it into his mouth, and then I can keep on talking. So,
okie doke.
All right, yeah. Duelyst, and
Yes.
this is by the way the youngest podcast host I think in existence. So that we can claim that as a credential for the show.
A full 10 days old.
Yeah. But with Duelyst, so it's a solid game. I'm just reaching the point where if I'm playing Hearthstone and Faria and Duelyst all at the same time, I start losing track of which cards belong in which game. And so like I find myself with Duelyst kind of really relying on the pre-made decks. And at the level I'm at right now, that works. But if I wanted to get into any kind of advanced play, a large part of any of these games is kind of guessing at what is in your opponent's deck and playing around that.
Yeah.
And I just don't really have the mental room to get to that level with multiple games right now.
You can't hold the possibility space for 3 entirely different games in your head.
Oh my God. Yeah. With rapidly expanding card sets. So, I think it's fun to play these games, and I really, really like the aspect of having a game board instead of just cards. Like that level of strategy is really fun to me. I just don't know how deep I'll be able to get into them. But the one thing I will complain about with Duelysts is that the pixel art is god awful. Like there are really good animated portraits or cartoon portraits for all the heroes and the people that you're playing, but then they translate that into pixel art in the worst way, and I think they just try to preserve too much detail.
Yeah.
It becomes this just like pixel soup where nothing looks like anything. It's just this gob that is vaguely in the shape of the drawn art that's on the side of your screen.
Yeah, so
really at.
It looks like they're trying to go for like a Titan Souls. It's a pretty popular aesthetic, like the 2x or 4x pixel kind of thing. Like vaguely like 16-bit, like stuff like that. The problem is, and this is just based on, I'm not saying it in motion, I'm just looking at stills here, are that they are on a like the game board it's almost like a Star Wars 3D chess kind of thing, but that is hand-drawn resolution, so that does not match the character art assets. Also, that's not the main problem. The main problem is there are too many colors.
Yeah. There are a lot of colors.
There is no restraint being exercised in picking either a complex color palette or a complex silhouette. They have both.
Yes.
And that is gross to me.
And then on top of it, they're pixelated, which is just so, I think if they had done kind of the Shank is the reference point I'm getting for some reason right now, that style of game. Yeah.
Very like illustrative, like Clay is known for that, like not painterly, but like very flowing line comic book style art, right?
Yeah. So if they had taken the concept art as it stands in the character portraits and translated that to the board, I think that would have been fine. But they felt, well, I don't know if it was because of a restraint or not, but they took it to this pixelated place that just feels really, really out of place. And you're talking about looking at stills in motion, it gets harder to discern what's what. Because everyone's got all these bells and whistles, and like the way you're describing it is absolutely correct. Like they're throwing everything into these sprites, and so there's all these bells and whistles that are moving on them and making it even harder to get any kind of discernible features. Yeah. So it's hard to look at, but a lot of fun to play.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the fun to play part of it is the more important side of it.
Yeah, and I suspect that there is plenty of depth there, and that it holds up as you get to that level where you're anticipating your opponent's deck and everything else like that. I don't know that I'll get to that point, but it was kind of fun to dabble in. Yeah. One really fun mechanic that I enjoyed is after you play someone and beat them. Well, actually, I don't know if it happens if you lose to them as well. I haven't,
because you've never lost.
I've never lost.
Look at me. My name is Dennis. I'm holding a baby and I've never lost.
That's right. All I do is win. No, the one actual game against another person that I did, I was lucky enough to win. But there was an option at the end of the game you can add the person as a friend, or you can tip them 5 gold. And I thought that was just a really interesting mechanic that I think you get like 50 gold for a win or something like that. And you can tip 10% of that over to the person that you played.
I don't know if this is just the George Costanza in me peeking out, but like if I lost and somebody tipped me like 5 gold, I would view that as a hostile gesture. It's kind of like it's like somebody like hucking a nickel at me.
Yeah.
Like, Dick, why'd you have to do that?
I don't know. Like, I guess you could take it to that place. I took it as like, hey, good game. You know, like, friendly. I guess it gets to that level then of the problem that you always have in video games of what happens when the person chooses not to.
Oh yeah, because like it's kind of like ending a sentence with anything but an exclamation mark and ending a game with anything but a GG. Like,
yeah, right.
You know, like what's the established etiquette here?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, so that becomes troublesome. There are situations where, like, you know, in Hearthstone, you know, people can spam their emotes at you and just in general be really annoying, even though your capacity to interact on a meaningful level outside of play is very limited there. People find ways to abuse it and be really annoying. And so I could see that that tipping mechanic being a nice way to say, like, okay, if the person was a jerk, if they were taking forever on their turns, if they were clearly, you know, doing something like that to you to be annoying, you could not tip them. But then that's the weird thing of like, okay, well then you're assuming that everyone will always tip otherwise, and I don't know what. But it was just an interesting idea that I saw at the end of that game. It was like, oh, huh, you know, I tipped them, and that felt kind of cool.
You know who I would love to see try this? Riot.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, like if they decided to throw in, like, you know, gratuity for the losers or gratuity for the losing team. Like, I haven't played enough League of Legends to know if there's like a take at the end. Like if you could like donate reputation to these guys and say like, yeah, this team was a good match, or this particular person was really good, something like that. Like they would gather so much data that they would publish their conclusion and let us know exactly how effective this is.
Yeah, well, they do something like that. So you do earn experience points for your matches, and you do get significantly more if you win in League of Legends. However, you know, if you're trying to be free to play, that experience is very valuable, and you don't want to be frittering that away because that's what's keeping you in the game and letting you not spend money. However, what they do have is an honor system. So every player you can, if you choose, give them like a plus for if they're on your team, either friendliness, teamwork, or helpfulness.
Oh, great.
And then if they're on the opposing team, you can give them honor for being an honorable opponent. And then obviously they have the like report player for whatever reason button as well. So at the end of a game, if you did really well, a lot of times teammates will give you, honor for teamwork. That's kind of like the basic one. Or there have been games where I've just been in a punchy mood and been saying funny stuff on chat, and I'll get honor for friendliness. Or if you just played someone really, had a lot of fun against someone on the other team, I've got an honorable opponent mentions as well.
Nice.
So that is there in League.
See, I like that. I really enjoy that stuff because, like, even if it just becomes like, all right, it's understood that we always give honor for something, like what that encourages is a fake it till you make it kind of idea, which is like, even if somebody wants to be toxic, they can't. Or they won't be, or they're kind of like, oh yeah, good game, something like that, and they go through the motions of being generous, and then who knows, that might actually seep into their actual behavior.
Accidentally become generous.
Like which is great. I like that. And just
it is pseudo codified though. Like if someone, if two people are like are vying for a position in League, like both want to play top lane. The person who bows out, generally people will be like, okay, yeah, we'll give you teamwork honor at the end. And it doesn't really have teeth, at least right now, because it's kind of like a poke on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like you can see how many times you've been honored in a certain way, but that doesn't really translate to anything.
But if
Riot
there's a number that other people can see, people are going to want to game it.
Exactly. Yep. And then Riot has kind of reserved the right to do something tangible about that number in the future. And I have played with at least one person who had a specific banner on their name for being a good team player.
Awesome.
It's just this person is frequently honored for teamwork.
Yeah.
So
I would much rather people get bling and banners and stuff like that for their actual behavior as opposed to accomplishments in the game. I think that is really cool.
Yeah. So that's good stuff. The one other new game that I've played
that was Duelyst. If you're looking for it, is Duelyst with a Y instead of an I.
Yep. And then segued into League of Legends.
You're holding the baby. You're excused.
Yeah, I was gonna say pretty much. The other new game I've been playing was actually also a listener suggestion. So I believe it's Sean Squire turned me on to this game. Curses and Chaos, which is a little pixelated 2D brawler for PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 4. And I've actually been playing it co-op with him on PlayStation Vita. And that's incredible because it's like the only time I've ever used my Vita to interact with another person. And it's wonderful. It works great. And it's a lot of fun. The controls for this brawler are very simple. Like you are on one screen the entire time. Enemies come at you in waves from either side of the screen. And you've got a punch button, a jump button, and a run button. And you just use different combinations of those buttons and movement buttons, I guess, to fight off the waves of enemies.
Based on the screens that I'm seeing, and this game is also available for Steam if people are curious about it. Based on the screens I'm seeing, it's like a single plane. So as opposed to being like Castle Crashers or any of the kind of like classic Konami ones where you can kind of move up and down, this appears very much to be like a straight up 2D platformer brawler. Platformer being a bad word to say because it misleads about the idea of what kind of game this is. But like, is it just a single plane? You don't move up and down?
Yeah, you don't even move side to side. Like it is one screen.
Oh, shit.
Fixed screen. It's not even really a platformer because at least in the screens that I've played on so far, there aren't platforms. It is like purely there are monsters coming at you from the side and you and a friend fight them off. And it's fantastic. Like it's fast, but the simplicity is perfect especially for the Vita, where, you want to jump in, do a couple matches and jump out.
So it's like a horde mode cooperative fighting game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a ton of fun. It's got that just one more aspect to it where you kind of finish, you get your game over and you're like, oh, we got so far that time. One more. All right, let's go.
How long are the rounds?
Oh gosh. If you're doing well, maybe getting close to 7 minutes.
Okay.
Not long at all.
Yeah.
And that's like when you get all the way through and beat the boss.
Milo's sounds are just cracking me up.
He's gonna fart at some point. You guys will see what I mean. If you hear a sound like an earthquake combined with a dynamite explosion.
Oh, poor kid.
He's fighting off indigestion right now. Single player.
Yeah. So the thing I will say is that you have to play this game co-op. One, because things are always more fun co-op, but then two, because it is very clearly balanced for 2 players. And when I went in and tried it single player, it felt like at least I got the same amount of monsters and waves that I did 2 player and was just annihilated.
Ooh.
So the only way I've had success in this game is jumping in with another person. I've always had a friend ready to play it, so I don't know how easy it is to jump in with a rando. But co-op is the way to play this game anyway. And final thought for it is the best part about this game is the dancing.
Quantify, please.
Buried lead.
So at any point in the game, you can just hold down on the D-pad, and your characters will how to put this, gyrate, I guess,
as opposed to doing like a duck or something.
Yeah, well, like, if you're playing as the girl character, she'll turn around and shake her booty, and if you're playing as the guy character, he'll do like a helicopter motion. Like, I don't know how to describe
with his dick.
Yeah, basically.
Oh,
not visibly, but I assume that's what's going on under the armor codpiece. But it's just it's wacky and fun, and you get points for it. Like every second or so, you get 5 points for dancing. And so it's this really funny mix of, you like, fight off bad guys, dance, dance, yeah, dance, dance, fight off bad guys. And so any downtime in the game is just spent shaking what your mama gave you
as you're waiting for a new wave. That's pretty good. It's I mean, like a less functional, I guess it wasn't functional in Transistor. It's like Transistor, where there's just a button you can press to make something cool happen.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. It just lends itself to the zeitgeist of this game, which is just very good natured and zany and lighthearted.
Mm-hmm. This is really nice pixel art too, in contrast to Duelyst.
Yeah, exactly. Duelyst could take a couple lessons.
It's like the characters, all the assets are a little bit chunkier, especially in game here. But all of it kind of feels like there's some restraint on the color, and on the detail inside of them. Yeah, this is pretty cool.
And I have to, I'll look it up when I've got a second to show you guys the actual like dancing in motion, because you guys will get what I'm talking about. And it's amazing how much fluidity can be baked into a very pixelated character.
Yeah.
For these dance moves.
Huh. How much was this when you got it?
Oh God, it was like $4.
Okay.
If that. So it was picked it up on the cheap, and I've definitely got my enjoyment out of it.
Cool. I want to take a look here. They decided to do the whole, instead of curses and chaos, it is stylized as curses space apostrophe in chaos.
And N apostrophe, please.
No, it's apostrophe in. It should be be apostrophe in apostrophe. I'm looking at their website. They have it stylized in their logo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting that Google auto completes it either way. So.
Yeah, but Steam doesn't. It's like $10 on Steam.
Yeah, and I don't know how often it goes on sale. I got it on sale for, like I said, for $4.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great to hear. So I'm going to, this is the point where I'm going to say I have not played anything.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to do the Fallout New Vegas episodes of Watch Out for Fireballs. Like, in terms of real recording time or like episode release time, that doesn't come out for like a month and a half or something like that. Like, that's very much a June thing. But we love this game so much that we're not really like divvying up side quests. We just kind of want to do them.
Yeah.
So,
you guys do this stuff to yourself.
I know. Like, yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah. It's not like a woe is me kind of thing. Also, I'm playing ahead. Like, I like to have at least a 2-week buffer of assignment playtime before I can feel comfortable doing other stuff. So, like, I failed this show by playing this other game, but like, New Vegas is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good.
What are some of your favorite parts going back to it? If you don't mind, if you can say that.
No, yeah, I'm not worried about burning that cast, because we're gonna have, probably all told 8 hours of talking about this game. Just the wackiness of it. I know that's kind of weird to say, because I generally don't go in for like wacky, but like everything's very colorful, has a lot more just personality to it. And I'm saying this like in relative terms to Fallout 3, because we decided to do it so soon, because Fallout 3 just was like, yeah, this really just makes me want to play New Vegas. But like, I'll say this, just today I did a quest called Classic Inspiration or something like that.
Okay.
And so there's this guy, you go into this workshop at the very end of the New Vegas Strip, and there's this guy whose like artiste name is Michael space Angelo, and he's the guy who makes all of the signs for Mr. House, the guy who runs New Vegas, the Strip, right? And he's out of inspiration. And if you have a high enough medical skill, you can say like, oh, you're agoraphobic because you grew up in a vault and you don't want to go out, into the wastes. Why don't I go take pictures of these landmarks? So you're going and you have like a little bit of a hit list, but it's like, yeah, they're just like a bunch of cool signs and just pieces of graphic design that I'm gonna go look at. That's one level. However, because this guy's a nerd who never leaves his house, a perfectly viable way to do this, you don't get to do the quest, but like you can just bully him out of caps whenever you want. It's just like, yeah, I don't know, going out and taking pictures, that seems an awful lot harder than just getting caps from you, so you lose. Which, bullying, whatever, like it's only funny in fictional stuff, but yeah. Like, just the fact that that's an option. And I know that the multiple factions and stuff really turn a lot of people off. Just the idea that like you have to make a choice of who you're going to go to, but like the factions that really matter in the game are more at the local level for like a town, and I'm very, very specifically playing on the side of the New California Republic in this, the NCR, because I've never done that before. I've always gone like Mr. House or Yes Man. Hey Milo. And but even there, like playing hardline, like we're going to civilize this area, it's not going to be the Wild West anymore. I'm still able to like make friendships with the great Khans, or I'm working now to help out the Brotherhood of Steel. Like all of that is doable, and that's where the really interesting stuff is. You just have to figure out how to go for it.
Yeah. Things didn't seem as much in odds with one another in New Vegas as it does in like Fallout 4, for example. Mm-hmm. Like it seems like you can kind of thread the needle and like work for many different factions, but then at a certain point you might have to side with one of them.
Yeah, but so having done the NCR side of it right now, and this is Burning Cast, but that's in a month or so from now. The different tracks that I've seen are not as divergent as what it is, because like at least with the NCR and Yes Man or Mr. House, you end up saying like, oh, we need to deal with the great Khans, and it's either go in there and kill all of them, like this biker gang without bikes, right, who just deal in chems and stuff, but like you can just go there and try and talk them out of allying with Caesar's Legion, and that ends up doing it. Like you still get access to a lot of the content, and I've never done a Caesar's Legion run either. But it's still there. Like you still get to see as much of it. The only thing you get locked out of is like the other of the 2 or 3 factions that you don't go with. Mm-hmm. That like specifically play into the Battle of the Hoover Dam.
And in hindsight, I love Caesar's faction is such a good faction. Like the idea, because like I didn't know this until I went to Vegas, but like the fact that Caesar's is a casino company out there and controls so much of the Vegas Strip. I don't know. It's so great. And the fact that they crucify people on telephone poles, it's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. I wish, so the thing that stopped me from going, Caesar's Legion, because that's, another completely viable thing. You can say this decadent world cannot be allowed to exist. We need to impose a new order, by which I mean an old order. Like you can totally go and do that and be, like one of these slave driving assholes if you want.
Yeah, it's like a Sith run through of Coder. It's just really hard to stomach through, I feel like.
Yeah, and also like there's just so little to it as well. Like if you look at it, like a couple of quests change like fundamentally, like you end up working for a different side, but like most of it's like, yeah, we just didn't have enough time to come up with content for this. So rush, here's the ending of the game. Like it really seems like something you would tack on like later for doing like a different style of play. Yeah. Yeah, New Vegas.
Cool.
Any other questions about that?
Another comment is, I think I've mentioned this before, but like the fact that the map's pretty accurate to what that area is like, just scaled down, is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And how like a lot of the places you visit in the game are real life places that you could go and visit in that area.
Like Prim is an actual city across the border, right?
Correct. And they have a roller coaster there as depicted in the game.
Nice.
The correctional facilities there, the Good Springs is there, and in that bar that you wake up at is also there.
Oh, really?
And the person who's the bar owner is an actual real life person that you can go and visit. So, yeah.
Wow. Everybody do that. Send pictures.
And I'm sorry, I'll quit after this, but the Helios, the solar array, is an actual thing. They actually have a solar array on the Nevada-California border.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's on the California side, and there's 2 solar arrays now, and you can see them if you fly into Vegas as you're landing, and it's like on the horizon. 2 bright lights in the sky.
And like, isn't like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but McCarran is the airport there?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And Nellis is an Air Force base to the northeast.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a really interesting tightrope to walk design wise, of like kind of inspired by areas versus one-for-one recreation.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like New Vegas is similar to how GTA does it, where it's very like a very loving rendition of it, but not 100% accurate.
Yeah, like the Mojave Wasteland gets a little bit of shit for not being as iconic as DC.
Capital, yeah.
For the Capital Wasteland or, you know, what have you. But like to hear that, you know, like probably not the same level of care because, you know, the Capital Wasteland is, you know, it is iconic and they did do a lot to kind of like capture that. Like all of that's really great and cool. But to see that like a similar ethic was applied here for this, even though like not many people are going to like have that knowledge that you just dropped on us, Ben.
Yeah.
You know, like it says something more that they would put in that effort for something that, you know, they really could have just fudged, right?
Yeah, and I believe the people who made this all live in San Diego, so I think they drove up to Vegas for like research on this since it's like 5 hours away. So they probably passed, you know, like all these things as they were going there. So
yeah. Whereas Bethesda, as opposed to, you know, Obsidian, Bethesda is actually based in the DC, you know, area. Huh.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it is not itself like a feature that you would buy the game for, but it's indicative of a level of care and quality that is worth buying the game for.
Yeah. Yeah, like appreciation of that. You know, it's a little bit like the green M&Ms in the bowl at the back of the Van Halen concert. If they're not though, if they're not there, you know, the venue owner cared, right? Yeah. Ben, how about you? What you been playing?
All right, so typical fare, played Stardew Valley, played Rocket League, whatever. I started playing Hitman today, so I picked that up.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's been out for a couple weeks, and then it kind of fell off my radar. Or it's been out for a couple months, I guess, and it fell off my radar.
Yeah, like, so the first episode came out like a month ago, and then Sapienza just came out like last week.
Yeah. So I'm only at the tutorial levels. I only just started playing it. But so I don't have a whole lot of experience with it yet. Have done the first mission, and I killed my target successfully, but with a unsilenced pistol in front of other people. So that did not turn out well.
Oh, you fucked up.
Oops.
Yeah. I mean, it said press square to eliminate, and so I did that. I didn't know he was going to use his gun, but yeah, I don't know. So I'll probably have to replay that level. But right now it's just the training aspects of it. Later on, it opens up into like fuller, fleshed out cities. Like it's definitely the tutorial stage right now. But the interesting aspect about this game compared to the other games is it's episodic. So I just picked up the first 3 chapters of it. And so as you mentioned, the first one's already out. The second one just came out. And I think there will be one more that's included with what I picked up. But they'll be releasing episodes of it all of this year. I don't know how many there are in total. So I just picked up 3 for $15. So I assume since the full game's $60, then it'll be somewhere around 12 or so.
Yeah, it's like you can buy the full game for $55, or if you buy every single piece of this, it's going to be like $60. So you get a $5 discount for buying it all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, so far it's kind of interesting. I mean, they've changed a few of the systems up. It's just kind of minute things like the system mechanics for when you hide in a closet, like what it looks like to peer out from that, you know, what it looks like to change clothes when you like are taking somebody else's clothes. Opening and shutting doors for some reason. That's kind of interesting. Like if you open a door but you're standing in the way, it won't open. Similarly, if you have a body on the ground and you try and close the door, it won't close. So just small mechanics like that have been added. So it's kind of fine-tuned stuff right now. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much there is to say about it since I've only played one level of it. But
so you're far more like literate in this than I am. But comparing like, you know, so Absolution got a little bit of kind of heat for being a bit more linear with the mission structure. I've heard this described like on other podcasts, specifically like Idle Thumbs, I think, kind of described as like Blood Money if they had the like the tech to really kind of like juice that promise, you know, the promise that was made in Blood Money. And I'm curious, you know, like how does this compare to Blood Money, and also like does mimicking Blood Money feel like a worthy goal?
Well, so when you say juiced it, what do you mean by that?
Actually, like putting more kind of like people on the screen, because like I liked playing what I did of, you know, Absolution. I got about like halfway through it just because like those areas really felt like teeming and alive, as opposed to like Blood Money, which had you in kind of like these really like relatively sparse areas. There were kind of like non-essential people there to like witness what you had to do, but it felt more, I don't know, like deliberate in a way that like oh, it totally makes sense that they would turn this into Hitman Go, right?
Okay.
Just because there are fewer moving parts. But like if you take the kind of like open, you can approach this however you want mission structure of Blood Money, but apply kind of like the teaming systems of Absolution. Is that a combination that you're kind of like noticing bearing fruit, or is this just something that like, yeah, it just kind of feels like a Hitman game to me?
So I'll start by saying that Absolution wasn't that bad. Like
Oh, yeah.
so let me defend against these anonymous people.
Yeah.
But like the sequential missions, I thought were cool. It was the first time that you had two missions be able to impact one another and have carryover between missions, and I thought they did some really cool things with that, especially the wrestling level. So I had no problem with that. I will admit that the story in Absolution was not as good as previous games, but that's kind of more complimenting the previous games because like Hitman 2, 3, and Blood Money all had like really good payoffs to the end of their games. They were very like cathartic with their endings, whereas Absolution was just kind of like a so-so ending. It was like kind of cool, but yeah. That aside, I definitely noticed a lot of people in the first mission that you have. But as I said, it's a tutorial mission, so it's kind of more. I feel like it has a much more limited scope already. I've seen some screen caps of the Paris world, and that already looks like it's bigger. So I think I'll probably have more to say about it once I get to that point. Yeah. So I don't know. If you like Hitman games, it's a Hitman game, so it'll probably be pretty enjoyable no matter what. But yeah.
Okay, so. You're gonna play the like kind of the second one that you bought, the second pack, the Sapienza or whatever, just came out. You're gonna do that, and there's gonna probably be several weeks before the next one.
It's okay. Uncharted comes out next week,
I suppose. But like the other thing I've heard about this, and I'm so sorry to just kind of like keep recapitulating stuff that I've heard elsewhere, is that like this is a game. This Hitman game it feels like it's designed to kind of like give you stuff to do in the interim, like mission variants. There's user generated content. There are kind of like different goals and stuff, and that like it is very amenable to, okay, you're going to sit with this one mission and play as much of it as possible in a way that like if we gave all of this to you at once, you probably would not have revisited this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that opinion before as well. I don't know if I 100% agree with it, because I think like a lot of times if you play the game where you're going for like the 100% stealth mission, then you kind of get to explore the world fully anyway. But yeah, I mean, I can kind of see what people are saying with that. But I mean, I think if you enjoy the games, you'd probably be doing that anyway, and you wouldn't skip over. So I don't. Yeah.
So it's something you're comfortable, like I'm going to, spend a Saturday on this and then wait a month and then come back to it on another Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that aspect of it. Because I typically like if games are like episodic like that, usually I like to wait until everything's out and then just play it like once through. This was more just because I felt guilty that I hadn't played it and it was out, so I wanted to play it. But I think I'll be okay with taking a break for it, because as I said, other games are going to be coming out soon. So I think those will definitely fill the gap for me without any problems. So
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dennis, any questions for Ben about Hitman?
Do you feel any remorse for the people that you killed?
I mean, I only shot the target guys, so I mean, I was supposed to kill them, so I don't know. No. But so the problem though is like the other thing is the person you're killing, he's in a looped conversation with another person, which is kind of annoying because it's like a 30-second loop. But like, but I know that as soon as, even if I kill him silently, like there's going to be repercussions of that. Like someone's going to notice when somebody does not respond to them. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
stuff.
Fantastic.
Dennis, are you excited about Uncharted next week?
If I could play it, I would be.
Oh.
Yeah, he can't let himself be excited.
I'm looking at it this way. When I do finally buy the PS4 Slim, I will have such a treasure trove of games to play that it'll be awesome.
All right.
A valid strategy.
Fair enough.
And Milo agrees.
Milo agrees.
Hey, Milo, should we button it up? Did you squeeze him? Did you squeeze your baby?
I did not. I just held him up to the microphone. He's a natural.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Level. We so appreciate this. Before we go on to plugs for this show, I want to let everybody know that there is a new show on the network. It is called Monster in My Podcast. This is kind of a monster by monster exploration of the monster manual, or the monstrous manual, for second edition Dungeons and Dragons. Comes out 3 times a week. Each episode is sub 5 minutes, so 3 times a week you get to listen to me and Gary bullshit about a beastie.
So here, listening to these, I had the question: is there a place where you can easily see, excuse me, the character art for each of these monsters?
I put a link in the post for each of them.
Perfect.
Yes,
because that's I had a lot of fun listening to you guys, and the entire time I'm like trying to put together in my head, because I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, what the hell these monsters actually look like. Yep. And you guys aren't exactly doing like an anatomically correct rendition of trying to educate people on this. You're just guessing about it.
Right. And we throw in some details such as the shitty bird people secret fingers.
Yes. Which there's no way that it looks as horrifying in actuality as it does in my mind.
Yeah, but no, like I include links to like the various wikis and stuff that have descriptions and pictures and things. So all of that is there, and Milo agrees.
Perfect.
Yeah, super excited. This is something that we can only do because we passed a Patreon milestone. And yeah, like, so 3 times a week we're doing this.
Awesome.
It is a lot of fun. Let them pile up if you want. That's fine. I know it's weird to put like 5 minutes of a thing, but like, or just make it a part of your routine. Listen to us talk about beholders while you eat breakfast.
The pitch is back on too.
Yes, it is. The pitch came back.
Yeah,
with Loggins and Messiah was the first episode of Pitch uploaded.
It'll take you to the manger zone.
Oh gosh, go listen to the pitch just all the time, every day. so excited! So much cool stuff is happening. But for this show, there's all the there's all the great stuff that so many people have done already, and so many people still can continue to do, and we appreciate it. There's iTunes ratings and reviews. If you have any friends who like video games and maybe know what a podcast is, sharing us with them wouldn't be the worst thing. And that is really the only way that we spread the word, is through you guys and your word of mouth. And we've gotten a lot of like a lot of heat from that. We've gotten a lot of good response and people joining the community, and that's what this is all about for us. So yeah, am I missing anything?
I think we're good.
All right. So for us, I've been Kole Ross at Kole Ross on Twitter.
I've been Dennis Furia at DFuria on Twitter.
David is Moneysmith777 on Twitter.
And I've been Ben Merkel at Merkelizer on Twitter.
Yeah, and stick around for some titles. Let's see here. What have you all got?
I got a few. I'm going to cherry pick. So one I just had is Milo. One I had Roomblets. I had Hardcore or Common Core? Question mark.
Okay.
Those are the ones I'm going to submit. Accidentally became generous. That's another one. Accidentally became generous.
I'm going to say accidental generosity.
Okay.
I had the United Spacians.
Okay, I had that as well.
And then Hardcore or Common Core. And those are my 2.
Okay. Let's see here. I did not have that. I had Roomblets. I had Whale Disassembly Plant. I had United Spacians as well. I had Ninja Claws. I had Holding a Baby, Never Lost. And that's all. let the deliberation begin.
I'm kind of gravitating towards Roomblets.
Let me check and see what the spelling of Roomba is.
Roombas, Roomba.
Yes,
Roomblets.
it is two O's. So I have that spelled as Roomblets. Roomblets.
That's how I spelled it as well.
Yep, that's how it was in my mind.
Yeah, let's go with Roomblets.
Dunzo.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, thanks you guys.
Yeah, good times.
I appreciate it.